Okay, I'm lucky enough to own a Kerf Maker and a tendon maker, both from Bridge City Tools, and I recently ordered, they've come out with a new version of a Kerf Maker which gives you the ability to make larger dadoes or rabbits. But I've often, or not often, sometimes I want to work with 2x material or 4x4 material, and you want to cut half laps or rabbits and dadoes, whatever. And I've often thought that maybe it'd be nice to be able to set up a 3/4 inch dado blade and be able to cut whatever width up to a, let's just say a 4x4. Now you could scale this up to whatever version you want to make, or scale it down to whatever version you want to make within reason here, because I'm using these aluminum extrusions. Now here under 3/4 of an inch, as you can see, this block is just a hair over 3 inches wide, probably 13/16 thick. It's red oak. It's been in my shop a long time. It's nice and stable. What I'm going to do is run 2 grooves. I'm going to stop them about here, and then I'll make the cross-cut groove for allowing up to 4-inch material. 4x4 material is actually, 3.5 by 3.5, but I'll make that opening 4 inches so I can make a rabbit or dado that large. All right, I got this depth of cut set. I can just feel the blade coming over the top here. Maybe I want that just a hair shallower. I can always take more off. All right, that's good. So 1/2 inch. All right, so setting up my push stick here, this allows me to get the correct support height over here, depending upon the thickness of your board, so that I don't lean over one way or the other. And my stop back here will allow me to push it through. Make sure that I'm above that dado blade. I am by about 1/8 of an inch. And there we go. So all I need to worry about is just putting pressure this way, and then this keeps it down tight to the table. Right, that's a nice fit. Very little movement at all. I mean, just a fraction. Maybe a couple thousandths of an inch. I like that though. Okay, so that's going to go that way. Actually, they'll sit in there like this. I've got to drill holes for the bolt to lock them in place. So now I'll cut my cross groove here, or dado, and I'll make that about 4 inches wide. Before I do that, I'm going to fill these grooves now and fill them past where I want to make my cross cut here, so that they end up being perfectly flush with this cut. So no glue yet. But what I want to point out was I want to make sure that when I put these in, that I've got the grain running the same direction, so that when I go to hand plane this or run it through my power planer, that I've got it running, the grain running the same direction. Now it appears that it's pretty straight, so it probably doesn't matter, but to me it looks like it's going slightly uphill this way. So I'm going to put them both in like that, and then make sure that I can hand plane in this direction to flush this up. And just to make sure they're both fully seated, and then give it a, I'm just going to give it a clamp here. Okay. So I got a little glue squeeze out there on the end. That's no big deal because I'm going to cut into this anyway. We'll let it set up. And come back in about an hour. I got this block plane set fairly aggressive. Kind of nice to do this work by hand sometimes. I mean, that could have been done a long time ago if I'd run it through my planer. But I like the feeling that this gives you. And I can watch this and see that I'm just taking the shaving off of this yet. This is so close right now. This one is just up as well. Boy, I'd be hard pressed to say that that's not flush, but now I'm getting the whole board right there at the end. But not here at the beginning. I'd say that's it. So I'm going to cut a 4-inch width this way, and then we'll see where we're at. I'm getting a little tear out here and here and here, and this I can take care of. The outside I can take care of with a block plane. But I'm gonna get a sacrificial board back here to keep this from going any further, and I'm gonna make a couple of plugs in here that I'll just lay in to stop this from chipping out in this direction as well. So now these filler strips are just a hair loose, so to kind of take up that slack, I'm just putting them in with a slip of paper. This one needs a little bit more. There. That should hold them fine. I'll cut these off, flush them up. There's what I have left to remove to get to 4 inches. So I'll get at it. Got a backer board here. Just see a little bit of pencil there. That's pretty darn good. Now these can come out along with the paper. And you can see a nice edge I've got now. No tear out here, which is nice, really nice. Got a little bit right there on the bottom, but that can be sanded flush. All right, I made my 1-inch cut for this portion here, flipped it end for end, and then made this cut. But I don't want to cut it to finished length yet until I have my extrusions in there, so that I make sure that they end up perfectly flush here as well. So I'm going to rough cut these to length. First I'm going to drill my holes, and then I'll put them in here, and then we'll make our final cut. Okay, I rough cut a piece off of this long one, fit it in here. It's still a little bit long, and then the rest is hanging out here. Now before you make these cuts, you want to make sure these things are butted up tight, and all you need to do there is just stand it up and use gravity. And I drilled 3 holes here, 2 sets of 3 holes, 1 inch from here, then 3 inches, then 5. And just in case I needed to add a bolt or I run out of travel. That shouldn't happen, but we'll see what happens here. So I'm going to cut this flush. That's perfectly flush. Should be ready to go. I just got to knock knock a couple of these sharp edges off the corners here. And give it a little standing to make it feel nicer to the touch. Then we can take it for a test drive. Okay, setting this up to make a cut. I've got it wide open, both extrusions, and I'm going to take this piece of white oak. I don't even know what it measures. Let's just check and see what it is. It's about 3 3/4, a little over 3 3/4. Tell you exactly what it is here. 3.817. Okay. The beauty of using this type of jig is that you don't have to know what width your piece is. So the way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to take my piece, kind of square it up. I'm going to get a line on this side and this side. So let's say I want to make my dado in this area. As long as I've got this big area to work with, I'm going to make a cut. I'm not going to go full depth here. Something like that. Make sure my piece doesn't slide on me. I gotta get this staple out of here. Alright, so I know the area I want to remove, and it's between here and here approximately. And this is not the greatest piece to be working with. Got a little piece that's probably going to fly off of there, we'll see. So what I'm going to do is just make a cut down the middle to set my kerf. Now I can measure that. about 6145, 614. I'm going to set it up at 614. I'm going to lock my caliper. That moved half a thousand, so it's 6145. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is to set the width of my cut. So I'm going to put that over my board. I'm going to use gravity in my favor here and lock that down. Next, I want to set my kerf. Now this one's going to be a little trickier. I'll get that snug there. Okay, there's my kerf. That might have moved on me a little. Yes, it did. There. Okay, there's my kerf. So I'm going to set my fence to my approximate line here. Call it about right there. That's my first cut. I'm going to set this on my table saw fence. Yeah, that should be right. I'll put a stop out here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse this long cut. And then I'll slide this out to get my short. Alright, let's make our cuts here. Jig up the wrong way. I set up the long piece here first, and I should have set up the short piece and moved over this way. So I'm gonna redo this. I'm gonna set my. I gotta go back to this point right here. Yeah, I haven't moved my fence. Okay, I'm good. Now I'll move my fence. In retrospect, I should have made this cut first. But anyway, we're good. It should work both ways. Beautiful. Give that a little love tap, but that's a perfect fit. That is as good as it gets. Perfect. Let me show you that jig one more time. So for kerfs, max kerfs, I guess, or dadoes, this jig will do it. Actually, it'll do anything in this range. I'm confident of that. All you need to do is set your kerf and then your dado, and away you go. So for the first time right off the saw, to get that result is fantastic. I'm going to trim these down a little bit, but let me give you some dimensions here before I go. This is an 11-inch board. Mine is 3 1/8 inches wide. You can make it probably as thick as you want, depending upon your extrusion, but this one, like I said, is a strong 3/4, maybe 13. It's not that big. Maybe a 64th over or a 32nd. But 2 3/4 inch extrusions, just shy of 3/4 of an inch, I should say. And then you can see where I've got those located, about a 1/2 inch in from each edge. And that worked out pretty well. I don't, you know, I may have to use this a few more times to see on my fence how this is going to work out. But you saw that. That's the first cut I've ever made with it, and it worked out perfectly. And I think this too, this little mistake I made here is probably not too bad an idea to give it some strength. You add a glue joint in there, and that glue, that long grain glue to the jig itself will help keep that from splitting off. And I don't know if I need these. I'll need these holes, but I'm really happy with the way that worked out. So I'm going to call this a Kerf Maker on steroids. But that could work in a lot of situations. Thanks for watching.